we are going to tackle a gigantic moral, ethical question today. So buckle up. It's not going to be fun, and it certainly is not going to be easy, but I think that this conversation is more than necessary to have and then continually have as sci-fi becomes reality. So let's unpack this moral question that the New York Times has raised in a new opinion piece that is currently going viral on X. The opinion says, should human life be optimized? And then this is the graphic that was kind of corresponding with it. And this is actually like a live graphic, so the babies are crawling around here. So that was very interesting. But it says, this baby was carefully selected as an embryo. And then it's pointing to one of the babies. Her mother screened her for gender and health during IVF. And then there was more babies crawling around. Her parents selected her for health. Hers wanted a girl. Yes, so you can just select an embryo based on what gender you want. Now, this is way more of a complex thing and question that we're going to unpack because the specific focus of this New York Times article and this question about optimizing human life is about a relatively new company called Orchid. And this is what the website looks like. It is specifically an embryo screening company. So this is for, I believe right now, just people using IVF. So they can, when doing IVF, they can then send off their embryos here. This is not a necessary step in that process, just to be clear, but this is something that some people are starting to do. It's a very, very new company, which is why it went so viral and why people are talking about it. But it's saying, we screen for more diseases with a whole genome analysis. And here are some of the monogenic screenings that they can screen these embryos for: intellectual disability, spectrum of autism, epilepsy. We're going to get into just why these grind my gears here in a bit. What other ones? All of the cancers, both pediatric and also adult onset cancers. I'm holding my commentary here. Birth defects, chromosomal abnormalities, brain health, heart health, celiac disease, type 1 and 2, literally everything. Alzheimer's that you develop when you're 80. Okay. So that's what they do, and their mission statement on the surface seems simple because they just say, have healthy babies. So that is their goal. That is their driving principle, which sounds great. Of course, we want to have healthy babies. But what that mission statement does not include is what the rest of that statement should say, which is have healthy babies and get rid of all of the non-healthy ones, because that's what they're doing here. So to kind of dive a bit deeper, follow me here in the science because there's a huge social element commentary to get to, but I want to kind of make sure that you guys understand the science. So Orchid sequences over 99% of an embryo's DNA when it's sent to them, while alternatives sequence less than 1%. So that is why this is so revolutionary in a sense, because it is able to screen for a plethora of more things. It can look at hundreds of different genes, and it provides a report to the family about every possible ailment that these statistics believe each embryo may possess or could possibly later in life. So say Alzheimer's disease, okay, or prostate cancer. It could literally indicate that this embryo may develop that maybe when they're 80. So we're talking about diseases like, again, decades down the line that may or may not happen. And then sometimes even birth defects that may or may not even happen. It's not saying this person will get this and they will get this and they will have this disease. It literally can't do that. I can't imagine looking at an embryo and being like, yeah, this one may get Alzheimer's when they're 80. So next. Bruh. Something like that disease could be detected as a potential somewhere down the line in the baby's life. So then they would just not recommend that embryo to the parents. Disregard, bye baby, that one's not coming to existence. When I first saw this being discussed on the internet, I saw it from the actual founder's point of view. So I thought that maybe this software was being used as a way to treat or cure an embryo before the baby is ever born, which would be a wild concept and cool. But no, that's not what this is at all. They identify any possible ailments or future ailments, and then they just eliminate that embryo as an option in the first place. So they are not curing anyone. They are not saving anyone. They are saving potential struggle for both the parents and the suffering human. But by sparing them struggle, they're sparing them their lives. I think one of the many reasons why I'm so mind-boggled by this whole thing is so poetically, the way the founder and creator of this new software justifies why she started it.
I first got interested in this because of my mom. She has a condition called retinitis pigmentosa. So it's a degenerative condition where you progressively lose your vision over multiple years. I think just even from a super young age, I just felt that it was incredibly unfair. Like, why did she get unlucky? Why did she get this typo? Why did it affect her, not her siblings, not us, her kids? I think that was just the motivation that got me excited about Orchid and this idea that what if we could give parents this superpower that they never had before? What if instead of rolling the dice and kind of getting unlucky like my mom did, parents had the opportunity to mitigate risk for every known condition?
She founded a company in which, according to her, it would have picked up on the fact that her mom would have that degenerative eye disease when she was still an embryo. So then, according to her own technology, her mother just would have been disregarded, would have never came to existence because it would have shown that she has or potentially could have this eye disease. And so, not a healthy baby. Next one, next embryo. Her mom would not exist if her mom's parents used the software and found out about the eye disease. I mean, I heard that and I was like, what are you saying that you wish that your mom's parents could have had this so that they then would have made the decision not to have your mom? Thankfully, people were picking up on this obvious part of her story, and someone said, honest question, is it correct to say that the doctor's ideal outcome for her mother, who has a genetic defect, would have been that she had never been born? Yes, that's what that's saying. They would have picked a healthier option. We're trying to cure all suffering. And in theory, that line that I just said is great. We're trying to cure all suffering. But when you break down what that's looking like right now, it's evil. It's creepy and wrong because we're not actually curing anything. We're just making the suffering people go away. Oh, you may have a problem. You may not be a perfect baby. Next. Don't care. Don't want ya. We're trying to make a perfect society where like there's no suffering. There will always be suffering too. It sucks, but it is the truth, regardless of what Silicon Valley wants to try to change.
What if instead of rolling the dice and kind of getting unlucky like my mom did, parents had the opportunity to mitigate risk for every known condition?
Get unlucky like my mom did. So your mom's life is not worth living? Your mom is not a valuable human being? You would have disregarded your mom as an embryo. Are we tracking? Are we understanding what this woman is saying?
Than 1% of the DNA in an embryo with those 5 cells that we saw. So Orchid takes the exact same number of cells, is able to get 100 times the amount of data. You're able to mitigate risk for many more conditions that were previously impossible to detect in embryos.
Mitigate risk in a child, not the child. So by mitigating risk, you're just eliminating one of the children that has the risk. You're not removing the risk from the child. You're removing the risk and the child. It's said in such technical terms that makes it sound like we're so revolutionary. This is so amazing. Look, we can remove risk so that parents have healthy babies. Surface level, whoa, really cool. And then you unpack what that means. It means this. And then here is another clip from Orchid, and this is a video clip of the first Orchid baby ever being born.
Good to see you.
Oh my goodness. So how does it feel to be a new mom?
Oh man, it's a lot.
Yeah?
But he's pretty cute. So.
Oh my goodness.
This just gives me such Silicon Valley vibes, and it is because they are Silicon Valley, and I assume this woman probably works with her. They seem friends. She lives in this absurd house that's probably so expensive, and now she has like this new baby that she just like customized. It just feels utopian. The baby is precious. I'm not trying to hate on the baby or the fact that she has a baby. That's great. That's great.
We actually talked with one of the genetic counselors with Orchid. We went online and looked at all the results, and then selected an embryo for implantation. So that's you, bud. You were once an embryo.
So where are your brothers and sisters? Like, she had multiple, okay? She chose which one she wanted based on Orchid's advanced screening. So this was the healthiest baby option, and it's precious. I'm glad that she was able to have this baby. But again, I just think she says, we chose you. That's so not the way that it works. We chose your genes, baby. Hope you're the healthiest one. And your brothers and sisters will just hang out on ice. So here's the part where now Noor, the founder, has tested her own embryos and is showing us, here are the healthy ones, here are the not healthy ones, and here's why. So she's going through her own testing, basically.
And now you're able to see for the polygenic diseases, what's the delta in risk. So for breast cancer, you see a delta of, this embryo is close to the population average risk of about 14% lifetime risk compared to this embryo, which is very elevated. So we actually can just go do a deep dive. So let's just look here at embryo 2.
So those are the neurodevelopmental, the chromosome count, birth defects, hereditary cancer. It says genetic predisposition for every common condition. So it's saying, breast cancer, normal, type 1 diabetes, normal, schizophrenia, normal, all those things. It could just tell you normal or abnormal, like potentially higher risk. But again, not saying that this person will have any of these diseases. Not that that matters, I should say also. But regardless, I'm just trying to be clear of what this software is.
And also, even if your embryo scores like clear on all of these things, it's no guarantee that they're never going to have that in their life.
0% is it a guarantee? I mean, that's the thing. It's like, if we're talking about child disease, like, oh, the risk of cancer here is low. It's not gone. Your child that you do select could then still develop a horrific kind of cancer. Like, I hate to say that, but I want to be real on the fact that none of this is for sure. It's just science, and it's new science, and they're testing things out, and they don't care about these ethical questions at all.
I also just can't imagine being a parent, and if you go through this process and you pay however much you have to pay to have your perfect embryo, and that kid has cancer in like 10 years.
Right. And you're like, oh yeah, we can't play God. Oh yeah, we wish we could have a perfectly healthy everything. We can't. Even if Orchid says, well, there's 95% better. They don't freaking know. It's just science. It's statistics. Speaking of statistics and probabilities, did you know that 90% of Americans are nutrient deficient? And while the supplement aisle may seem like the right answer, most of these options are just temporary fixes full of synthetic ingredients. That is why I love what Gem is doing. Gem is on a mission to make food as medicine a reality through bite-sized nutrition solutions that are simple and delightful to digest. The Gem Bite is a functional daily multivitamin formulated for proper absorption, packed with 20+ nutrients, probiotics, prebiotics, all in one delicious real food bite. Their bites are designed with your nutritional needs in mind, using real food ingredients your body naturally absorbs more effectively. And their key ingredient is beta-glucan, a soluble fiber that can help you boost your GLP-1 levels. Plus, Gem is committed to quality sourcing ingredients whenever possible, and they never use anything artificial. All their bites are vegan, gluten-free, and soy-free. And it's not just feel-good marketing, they are actually backed by science. They formulate with nourishing ingredients that are individually backed by clinical and scientific studies to ensure that your body is getting exactly what it needs every single day while still tasting delicious. So if you want to give the first real food multivitamin a try, you can head to dailygem.com/Conrad or enter code Conrad at checkout for 30% off your first order. That is dailygem.com/Conrad or use code Conrad at checkout for 30% off. Now that is science used correctly. This is not.
Basically, this yellow line represents the population average risk, and then this green dot represents where the embryo is. You can see the embryo is slightly elevated for celiac and pretty close to normal on every other disease.
Like, if I'm a parent and I see that, oh, the schizophrenia is much higher, but only a little bit on whatever that graph is, I'd be like, oh no, the kid's gonna have schizophrenia. They're probably not. I feel like it would just confuse parents too. There's a beauty in an unconditional love. You get pregnant, the baby's in there, whatever's gonna happen is like, you're gonna figure it out. And then this is like trying to play God and like figure it out beforehand, but you can't. You can try, apparently, now by picking a baby.
The last thing that I would want is that, hey, we already today know that this genetic disease exists, but I just didn't bother to see if that's something that would affect my future child. Basically, sex is for fun and embryo screening is for babies.
Did you hear that? She said sex is for fun and embryo screening is for babies. What? I just foresee a world in this being so twisted. Like, we're starting to see it slowly warp. Oh, actually, you don't need sex to have a baby. Okay, well, now you don't even need to just have the baby that like would have been created via even like an IVF procedure, which is, combining a sperm and an egg and seeing if it creates into an embryo, because now we're going to create a bunch of embryos, and now you're going to get to select one based on this super advanced screening that now we have available, because now rather than just hoping that the embryo implants as like an IVF procedure, now we're hoping that you can pick the embryo that you want to implant because it's going to be the healthiest one, so that you're going to have a healthy baby and it's going to all be great. And that's just where we're at now in 2025. And I just see it getting so much more twisted, which is where I want to go a little bit with this. Again, unpack what this means. Nora was tweeting about this when the New York Times article went out, and she said, if you could prevent your child from going blind, would you? From getting pediatric cancer at 5, from heart defects, schizophrenia at 22, from living a life radically altered by pure genetic bad luck? This is a choice parents are now able to make. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're able to just pick another kid. They're not curing their kid. They're not making sure that that kid doesn't have those heart defects, that that kid doesn't develop schizophrenia. They're just saying that kid, that's what this is. It reminds me of that early 2000s, I think, idea of designer babies. But that discussion was around whether or not they're able to genetically edit the embryo's existing DNA. So again, like making it a blue eyes versus brown eyes, whatever. That was all about one embryo. That was about designing and editing the current embryo as it stands. This is like, oh, you don't like that embryo? Next. So it's not even that same discussion. It's darker. I think people heard about the designer baby in that concept and they're like, oh, that's so twisted and wrong. How about this where you just get rid of it? Oh, it has brown eyes and you wanted blue? Next. That's what this could be. It's what it is. It's what it is. Sorry, I'm getting heated. Just I want to be very clear, okay? I think everyone's it's like, Reagan, you are. Just in case no one's picking up on this. So it's not editing. It's selecting. It's so reductionary. It's so clinical. It's so twisted. Someone else said, only people from faraway cultures and civilizations or Westerners who've lost their bearings through modernity would think that this is okay. Lost their bearings through modernity. I think that's a very good way of putting it. We're in such this hyper-tech world, no suffering, figuring out the answer to every single problem, playing God, and then we get here. Your love for your child is a false one, conditional. Someone else said, this is eugenics. You aren't preventing any diseases, you are just killing the embryos that would have a higher chance for having them. This is ghoulish and should be outlawed. It is eugenics and ghoulish, and it should be outlawed, and that should be a discussion, but this is like, it's new territory, so they're able to get away with a bunch of things that in other countries right now are laws are being put in place, restrictions are happening because they're starting to see this science blow up. But in Silicon Valley, it's just like the Wild West, which I'm going to get into here in a second. In the New York Times article, it talked about how inexpensive of a procedure this is and how it's very much for the elite right now. It's for a certain group of people that can afford this level of testing. And then in the article, it went on to talk about this more as a way of replacing the old-fashioned way of having children altogether, because that's what Noor often says. She said in the one video that it's going to be insane to not screen for these things, later in the future because this is for fun and all that kind of stuff. New York Times went on to say, these things presumably refers to conditions like obesity and autism, both of which Orchid says it can screen for. What she and others who run screening companies tend to talk about even less is that such things could also include traits like intellectual ability and height. I have one of the medical conditions on that list on Orchid's website. And so I think if my parents were put in that situation and then they saw that I had a risk for that, or maybe that it could somehow identify one day that I will have that, would they not have selected me? It is a disease that could be something that is life-altering. Thankfully, in my case, it's not and it's well-controlled, but it could be. And at an embryo state, they don't know that. They don't know that I'm going to live a perfectly happy, healthy life. Like, do you see why this is sick? Why this progress is actually regressing things? Or the fact that, my sister had a medical condition when she was little, but my sister is completely healthy and lived a perfectly healthy life. Living a perfectly healthy life. Again, it's not a matter of if it would be you just without X condition or X disease. It just wouldn't have been you. You would have been killed, and a healthier sibling would have been picked over you. Someone else under this whole tweet thread said, ignore the haters, this is absolutely needed. If there is a way to scan for autism, it would be massive. Do you hear what that's saying? By not saying it, which unironically, it is also Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. And are they out there speaking up against this? Because they better be. Again, it's just saying that a kid with a disability is like, oh, it's needed. We can get rid of those kids. We're not getting rid of the disease, we're getting rid of the kid. Now, the laws around the world on IVF, but more specifically, this kind of revolutionary embryonic screening, and I say that loosely because I don't mean that in a good way, but it varies widely, probably because it's brand new. And this level of screening is a completely new world. The New York Times article talked about that, and they said, in the United States, despite more than $1 billion invested in fertility-focused startups in the past decade, there's remarkably little regulation or even basic public scrutiny of what practices are acceptable. That's why it becomes debated suddenly on X, because no one's talking about it while it's being created. It's kind of like it makes it through really high up before people actually notice it. We're just noticing this specific company, now. Instead, venture capital and private equity firms have spurred the creation of technologies and innovations in the field with no mechanism in place for oversight. Important thing to know. Today, the United States is known for its wide range of available services, which include sex selection and even eye color choice. baby eye color choice, not choosing your baby's eye color, choosing which baby you want based on their eye color. Okay? It's so crazy. So people are now flooding to America because it's more free range in this department. And this tech is being treated in the same Silicon Valley startup hustle as social media was in the early 2000s and how AI companies are popping up now. It's just another one of those in a sense. But this isn't just tech that's being customized and updated. It's human life. And these markers or indicators of a specific condition or disease are not an official diagnosis or anything even close to that. It's simply saying that this embryo may or may not be likelier and the probability of maybe developing. I mean, it's so vague. And another thing is a lot of this testing is not even factoring in the way that lifestyle can impact the health of the individual long term. I mean, this is all insane to me. It's like obesity's on there. Okay, that doesn't mean you're gonna just birth a horribly unhealthy, obese baby. There's like what are we talking about? So many of these things can be changed and altered with lifestyle. We're probably all predisposed to a lot of things that we have no idea about. It's also pretty interesting to see that even the New York Times author was clearly uncertain when writing this piece about the technology. Like you could tell they were even kind of like, I could see this going a lot. Yeah, you could. This author went on to say, it's one thing to screen for conditions like type 1 diabetes, which I would say, is it? Okay, but anyways, it's quite another to go looking for the embryo deemed most likely to clear 6 feet and test into the Ivy League. Because testing embryos for intelligence is actually something that has been done, and I betcha will continue to be done. I saw that coming. If anyone else is surprised by that, I'm not. It's literally exactly like that 1997 movie Gattaca. If you know, you know. Also mixed with like the Brave New World. I mean, it's all of sci-fi just coming together and then being like, this is so great. And for those who love to yell about equity and fairness, is this fair? Let's talk about privilege, smart person privilege, able-bodied person privilege, skinny privilege, pretty privilege. I mean, anything is on the table here. And again, it's privilege in the sense that one gets the privilege to live while the other sibling gets discarded. And wealthy privilege, because right now, and probably for the foreseeable future, the wealthy can do this. So what, can the wealthy just have these completely healthy babies? And those who have children who have disabilities, those are going to be exclusively for the poor? Because that's how I see this going. I think this all stems back to the way that we view human life in this country and in this society. If we are taught to believe that life, even at its earliest stages, is just a clump of cells, it has no value, it has no unique personhood, it means nothing, it has no right to life, I am not surprised by the slippery slope this technology is falling down fast. But even at an embryo's earliest stages, just look at how much life and individuality it has. Your hair color, your eye color, your height, everything was there from the moment that you were just an embryo. I mean, it's so cool to think about. All of your DNA, it freaking can maybe predict if you're gonna have a heart disease when you're 80. It's all there because it is a life. Even though we love to say that it's not, even though we love to look at what an embryo looks like and it's just a bunch of growing cells, it's still cells specifically for the personhood of one person. That is why we talk so much about protecting life at all stages without drawing that artificial line, because it can lead to dark places. Here's just a very quick part of the Baby Olivia video from live action that I love. I recommend this to everyone who wants to learn about babies and how they grow and all that. But this is just the very beginning of Baby Olivia's story. But I just want to show it because there's so much beauty even in the first stage. We all know this part.
This is the moment that life begins. A new human being has come into existence. At fertilization, her gender, ethnicity, hair color, eye color, and countless traits are already determined. She begins to implant in the uterus about 1 week after fertilization.
It's its own thing. It's its own being. It's already someone. It already has written out all of the instructions to become that person. That's a human life. I don't know. I could go on a whole rant about that, but I want to stress that. But Silicon Valley is trying to create, this perfect baby. But these kids can still get sick. They are still at risk for future suffering, as we all are, which sadly, that is impossible to prevent, no matter how badly someone wants to try to play God or sway God's decisions on all of this. We can't. We can rely on him and cling to him through all of the suffering and different things that happen in our lives, but we will never be able to take his place. Though for now, the Silicon Valley tech gods will continue to try. Thanks so much for watching today's episode. If you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video if you enjoyed it. And last but not least, if you want more content, you can also follow me on my personal pages as well as our new comment section Instagram. See you guys in the comments.